Hi, I'm Renee, a retired educator turned wine bar conversationalist. This is Conversations Over Wine, where wisdom is poured and stories are shared. Each week, we slow down, pour a glass, and talk about life's lessons, aging with intention, and what really matters as we grow older. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Something interesting is happening in our culture right now. More women than ever are making the choice to be single. It appears women are seeing marriage or serious relationships as more of a choice than a requirement for happiness. How did I come up with this? Well, here are a few recent headlines I have seen. The rise of singlehood is reshaping the world. That was in The Economist. More women are choosing to be single. It's an article in Cosmopolitan. And why more women than ever are single by choice. That article's found in the Oprah Daily. And even American women are giving up on marriage, which is found in the Wall Street Journal, just to name a few. I've seen numerous TikToks and Instagram and Facebook posts about it as well. So, as a single woman, I became really curious about this. I wanted to dig into it a little bit more and find out, is this the rise of the happily single woman? According to a 2023 Pew Research Data Survey, almost half of U.S. women didn't view marriage as an important element of a fulfilling life. That was reported in the Wall Street Journal. Half. Let that sink in. And that was 3 years ago. I think something is definitely happening. And this made me want to learn more about why it is projected that by the year 2030, 45% of women are expected to be single. I mean, wow, that's almost half. Are we witnessing a culture shift where singlehood is no longer considered a failure, but instead a choice? Is marriage shifting from a life milestone to a lifestyle choice? Why is this happening? Well, you'd probably have to poll every single woman who is single by choice to find out all of that. But overall, here are some of the suggested reasons for this culture shift. 1, well, women are now more economically independent. Did you know, even though home ownership is actually down, that the number of women owning their own homes continues to increase? You know, in the past, you think back years ago, I think it's probably true to say that, some women got married for economic reasons, and that even happens today, but I think more so in the past, when men were more of the breadwinners. I'm sure there were lots of instances where women married and stayed married simply for economic reasons. And that reason is starting to go away because women are beginning to make more money and they're more economically independent. So that reason makes perfect sense to me. Another reason stated is that many women are choosing to either delay having children or are choosing to not have any at all. As a single person, I have numerous single friends, females, who are childless. They did not have children, a few by choice, and a few just because it did not happen for them. But overall, there are many women that are making that conscious choice. They just want to put it off or maybe just choose to not have children at all. So that seems to be playing into more and more women choosing to be single. Also, many women are content with living alone and just tending to themselves, only having the responsibility of taking care of themselves. If you've had children and a family before, as I have, then you know that when you're raising a family and you have a spouse, like, your needs and wants definitely go on the back burner. And that's just part of it. I don't regret any of that. It taught me a lot about being less selfish, right? It was a wonderful part of my life when I was raising my girls. But you do put your needs on the back burner. And it appears that a lot of women are choosing to not do that. They're putting their needs and wants first. And, for those who are choosing not to get married ever. And then for some, like myself, that are divorced, who have been married before, some are just, they've raised their kids and they no longer want to have to care and tend to somebody else's needs all the time. And so many of those women end up divorced and just taking care of themselves and being perfectly content with tending to their own needs. So that seems to be another reason this is happening. And like I said before, this is a subject that definitely hits close to home because, as you know, I've been single. And I have been single by choice for the last 4 years. I have many single friends. So I decided to reach out to a few and get their input on their why for remaining single. Here are a few of the responses I got from my single female friends. Here's one. I get more joy from my uplifting and supportive relationships with my girlfriends than men who won't let you have friends or one who might be putting you down. Here's another one. I choose to be single because I date myself better than any man has ever done. At this age, my peace means everything to me, and I try to protect it at all costs. There's a lot of things that are stressful in my life that I don't have control over. But choosing to have a man in my life or not, well, that is my choice. Here's another comment. Never had a terrible vacation or a silent dinner with my girlfriends. And my last one. Even though I've been single for over 15 years now, I'm not sure it was really a conscious decision to stay that way. And this is from a divorced friend. At first, I was just trying to survive and raise my girls and didn't want to bring a man into their lives when they were young. Even though my kids are grown now, I still enjoy my singleness. As far as the future goes, I pray for my desires to line up with God's will for my life. And as of right now, I don't have the desire to date. I'm not saying I'll never get married again, but I definitely won't compromise or settle. Those are pretty interesting comments. And those are comments from divorced friends and friends who've never been married at all. And I think those comments are all pretty indicative of part of the reason we're seeing more women choosing to either remain single or to become single as well. As I mentioned earlier, I think there have been times in history where women were completely dependent on men financially. And that was kind of their goal, to get married, settle down, to have a breadwinner, to have somebody to take care of them. And that is definitely shifting because women don't necessarily always need a man financially. And if things if they do get married and it is not a good marriage, then women are able to survive independently, so they're less likely, it seems, to stay in a marriage that's, unfulfilling. They are able to step out of that, earn their own keep, take care of themselves, and live a life of peace. Me, being divorced, what are my reasons? Like I said, this is a subject that definitely strikes home for me because I am single. Well, for me, my main reasons would be peace and contentment in a nutshell. Now, I've been married several times, and in all honesty, I've spent most of my adult life in relationships. I think that's one of the reasons Eat, Pray, Love is my favorite movie, and I know I've talked about that movie in several episodes. I think I can relate to Liz a lot in her journey and just who she is as a person. I can definitely relate to some of her traits and characteristics. And there's a part in the movie where she references the fact that her whole life she's either been in a relationship with a man or leaving a relationship with a man. And that really hit home with me. And I think that can be said about my own life. I mean, I wish it weren't true, but if it weren't, I would not be the woman I am now if my journey had been any different. As painful as it has been at times, I am where I am now because of my journey, right? Sometimes we just have to embrace where we've been and the lessons that we've learned. So trust me when I say any wisdom I may possess has not been earned the easy way. I lost my peace in my last marriage, and that I can never allow to happen again. So when I say peace is one of my main reasons for being single, that's the reason why, is because I've lost that before in a relationship. And you don't really realize how important peace is to your life until you don't have it. And the thought of ever losing that again, it's just incomprehensible for me. I could never allow that again. And I have so much peace in my life right now. It's very peaceful and quiet, and I love it. And then when I say contentment, ties in very closely with peace, but I'm very content with where I am. Just like one of my friends mentioned in her quote that I used earlier, where she says that right now I don't have the desire to date. And that's how I feel. Like I'm just content. It's not that I'm fighting the urge to date, because I have been in relationships my entire adult life. It's not like I'm fighting that urge. I am seriously at peace, and I seriously feel content. So those are my two main reasons for remaining single. Now, I in no way regret having my children. They are the greatest joys of my life. So therefore, I do not regret marrying their fathers. But now, I am content and happy with my life as it is. Could the future hold someone to share with? Absolutely. But guess what? It's not a requirement for my happiness. And I think that possibly there are a lot of other women that feel the exact same way. Used to, it was our goal. It was to get married. And I think people are just experiencing life maybe in a little bit different way. And personally, I can relate to that. I'm not actively pursuing dating. I'm not completely opposed to meeting a companion one day. I have no intention of getting married again, but I'm just feeling happy and content in my life. And I think there is a lot to be said for that. Feeling content and being happy with where you are and not trying to find that contentment in someone else. Because I don't really think you can. At least that's been my experience. You have to be happy and content with yourself and your life and be at peace before you can really be the companion you need to be if you decide to get in a relationship. And even though I'm talking about women right now, I'm sure a lot of this could also be said for men. I'm sure there's some men that have some of these same similar feelings. So if you are single, maybe you're soon to be single, or maybe you just have people that you are close to or that you care about who are single, what are a few ways to make sure you make the most of your singlehood? Well, according to Bella DiPaolo, she wrote the book Single at Heart. According to her, she thinks there are 3 skills to help get the most out of being single. She says making sure your alone time is restorative and not intimidating solitude, having hobbies and activities you really enjoy, and of course, having rewarding relationships in your life. I think I agree with her on those 3 skills. I think there are others. There's some that could be added to that list of ways to enjoy being single and really getting the most joy out of it. But I think she's onto something with that. Let's tackle each of those individually. So making sure your alone time is restorative and not intimidating solitude. I think for that means enjoying it and really embracing being able to read your book or being able to go to sleep when you want to go to sleep or watch the movie that you want to watch and spend time with the people that you want to spend time with. Intimidating solitude is something where you're not enjoying that time. You're feeling lonely, and we have to make sure as single people that we are enjoying that time and we're using it to restore ourselves. The next one she mentioned was having hobbies and activities you really enjoy. Well, that one, absolutely true. You end up with more time when you're not filling your time with somebody else. And so you do have time. Embrace that time to be able to enjoy those hobbies and activities that really mean the most to you. It could be returning to some old hobbies or activities that you enjoyed, before you were married or before you were in a relationship, or maybe it's forming some new ones. I did a whole podcast on, hobbies and activities, especially in this, day and age where it seems that more and more people are going the analog route, reading your books or doing your puzzles or going for walks or bike rides or whatever it may be. Being single is a great time to really explore those and having ways to fill your time. And of course, when she mentions having rewarding relationships, we all know that's the main key to a fulfilling life, whether you're single or married or whatever. But, as a single person, I can speak to that. I have single friends and I have married friends, and the ones that mean the most to me, I really try to nurture and make sure that I spend quality time with those people, because you have to be a little careful when you are single that you don't spend too much time alone. It's kind of a balance that you have to reach with embracing your singlehood and being okay alone, but also balancing that with time with people that fill your soul. Spending time and effort with others is very rewarding. So I think I agree with her 3 skills to help us all enjoy, being single. And I think a good reminder is that being alone is not the same as being lonely. And I think in the past, maybe it was seen as kind of a failure if you weren't in a relationship or didn't get married or whatever it may be. And I think that's shifting. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you're necessarily lonely. You may have moments of loneliness. I do. Even though I'm single by choice, there are moments where I'm lonely, but I can feel that time doing things that I love, or I can reach out to my friends or my family and spend time with them. And sometimes I just need to sit in that loneliness. The main thing to remember, I think, with that is that it doesn't linger. Just like being sad about something, it's okay to be sad or it's okay to be stressed as long as those are temporary. It's when they become long-term problems that, you would need to be concerned and maybe take some steps to address that. I think this episode and talking about this movement of more and more women becoming single, I think it's something we could probably do a part 2. And I would love to hear from some of you guys. I know I say that almost every episode, but with this, if you are single, have been single, or you just have something that you would like to add to this conversation, I would love to hear from you. If you're single, why have you remained single? What are your reasons? What do you love about it? What do you not love about it? I would love to have a whole other conversation on this topic because I think it's much bigger than a 20-30 minute conversation. So if you have something you want to add to the conversation, please add it in the comments or shoot me a message. Let me know your thoughts on this. I would love to do a part 2, and I would love to hear from you guys. And as always, if you enjoyed today's podcast, if you would please take a few minutes to like, comment, download my podcast, or even share it with a friend that you think would enjoy some of our conversations, it would mean so much to me. And guess what? I am leaving for a week in Italy starting next Monday, the 23rd of March. I'm going with a couple of other single friends since we're talking about this topic. And so I'm super excited about it. It will be my second trip to Italy. My first trip was a solo trip. That was several years ago. And so this will be my second time to go to my favorite place on earth. So I'm really excited about that. So I won't be recording any episodes next week because I'm going to be catting around Italy and enjoying some time with my other single girlfriends. So I can't wait to share a little bit about that when I get back. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And thank you for joining me as always as we sipped, savored, and reflected on this beautiful life that we have been given. And until next time, cheers.